Hi guys, how are you all? I hope everything is fine at your end. And today we're going to read another story. Story name is The Garden Where Seasons Never Ended. So let's start. Hidden beyond a quiet village, behind a winding stone path and an old iron gate covered in climbing roses, lay a mysterious garden that few people had ever seen. The villagers called it the garden where seasons never ended. It was unlike any garden in the world. One corner bloomed with colorful spring flowers, another shimmered beneath the golden warmth of summer. Nearby, brilliant autumn leaves danced in the breeze, and beneath a great oak tree, soft winter snow quietly covered the ground. All four seasons existed together in perfect harmony. The villagers believed the garden was magical. Some claimed it had been planted by the stars. Others believed nature itself had blessed the land. Only one person cared for the extraordinary garden, an elderly gardener named Miriam. Every morning before sunrise, she watered the flowers, trimmed the hedges, and spoke softly to every tree as though they were old friends. People often wondered why every plant flourished under her care. Whenever they asked, Miriam simply smiled. A garden grows best where kindness is planted first. Most people thought she was speaking only about flowers, but she meant something with much deeper. One sunny afternoon, a 14-year-old boy named Daniel wandered through the old iron gate while chasing a butterfly. He stopped in amazement. I've never seen anything like this, he whispered. Miriam looked up from her work. Welcome. I'm sorry, Daniel said. I didn't mean to intrude. You didn't. The garden welcomes anyone with a curious heart. Daniel visited again the next day and the day after that. Soon he began helping Miriam. He watered flowers, pulled weeds, collected seeds. He especially loved a tiny tree growing at the center of the garden. Unlike every other plant, it had no flowers, no fruit, no leaves. Its branches were completely bare. Why doesn't this tree grow? Daniel asked one afternoon. Miriam gently touched its trunk. It is waiting. For what? For someone to understand its secret. Daniel looked puzzled. It receives water, it has sunlight, it should be growing. Miriam smiled but gave no answer. Weeks passed. As Daniel spent more time in the garden, he noticed something unusual. Whenever visitors entered with angry hearts, the flowers nearby seemed to droop. But when children laughed or neighbors helped one another, colorful blossoms opened almost instantly. Was as though the garden responded to people's hearts. One evening, a wealthy traveler arrived. He admired the beautiful flowers. I'll buy this garden, he declared. I'll build walls around it and charge visitors to enter. Miriam calmly shook her head. This garden cannot be owned. The traveler laughed. Everything has a price. Before anyone could reply, he reached out and snapped a clear golden flower from its stem. The moment he did, the sky darkened. A cold wind swept across the garden. The flowers slowly closed. Birds stopped singing. Even the streams became silent. The traveler looked around in confusion. What happened? Miriam sighed sadly. The garden has been wounded. Daniel watched in disbelief. Could a single selfish act really change such a beautiful place? As the sun disappeared behind the hills, Miriam handed Daniel a small wooden watering can carved with tiny vines. It is time, she said gently. The garden has chosen his next keeper. Daniel's eyes widened. Me? Miriam nodded. But first, you must discover the secret of the tree that never grows. Daniel looked toward the silent tree standing in the center of the garden. Its bare branches stretched toward the evening sky. He had a feeling that whatever happened next would change not only the garden but his own heart forever. Daniel carefully held the little wooden watering can as he walked toward the silent tree in the center of the garden. The evening breeze had disappeared. Even the birds seemed to be waiting. He gently poured water around the tree's roots. Nothing happened. The branches remained bare. I don't understand, Daniel said. I have given it water. Miriam smiled kindly. Water helps a tree live. But it isn't what this tree is waiting for. Daniel looked puzzled. What does it need? Instead of answering, Miriam handed him a small cloth bag filled with seeds. Tomorrow, she said, visit someone who needs kindness more than flowers. The next morning, Daniel walked into the village carrying the seeds. His first stop was an elderly widow whose garden had become overgrown because she could no longer care for it herself. Without being asked, Daniel spent the afternoon pulling weeds, planting flowers, and repairing her broken fence. The old woman smiled with grateful tears. You have made my home beautiful again. That evening, Daniel returned to the magical garden. To his amazement, a single green leaf had appeared on the mysterious tree. He gasped. It grew. Miriam nodded. The tree listens to acts of kindness. The following day, Daniel helped a young shepherd search for the lost lamb before a storm arrived. When he returned, two more leaves had appeared. Another day, he shared his lunch with the hungry traveler. A tiny blossom bloomed. Soon Daniel understood the garden's greatest secret. The tree didn't grow because of sunlight or rain. It grew every time someone chose kindness over selfishness. Word spread through the village. People became curious. At first they helped one another simply to see the magical tree grow. Children shared toys. Neighbors carried firewood for the elderly. Shopkeepers gave food to families in need. Every evening the tree grew taller. Its branches stretched farther toward the sky. Bright green leaves covered its limbs. Colorful blossoms opened one by one. The garden became more beautiful than ever before. But after several weeks, something changed. Many villagers stopped helping. The tree is already growing. They said, our work is finished. Slowly, old habits returned. Arguments began, people became impatient, some forgot to help their neighbors. Within days, the blossom began to fade. The leaves lost their bright color. Daniel felt discouraged. Will the garden disappear? Miriam gently placed a hand on his shoulder. The garden reflects the hearts of the people. It cannot bloom where kindness is forgotten. Daniel sat quietly beneath the tree, thinking. Then an idea came to him. Following morning, he invited every child in the village to the garden. Instead of telling them about magic, he simply asked one question: what is one kind thing you can do today? Children eagerly shared their ideas. I'll help my grandmother bake bread. I'll clean my neighbor's yard. I'll comfort the new student at school. I'll feed the birds during winter. Each child chose one act of kindness. Soon their parents noticed. Inspired by the children, the adults began helping one another again, not because of the tree, but because kindness made the village happier. Day by day, laughter returned, neighbors worked together, strangers became friends, families shared meals. The magical tree burst into magnificent bloom. Golden flowers covered every branch. Sweet fruit appeared for the very first time. When anyone tasted its fruit, they remembered the happiest moments of kindness they had ever experienced. The wealthy traveler who had once tried to own the garden returned many months later. He was astonished. I visited countless kingdoms, he said, but I have never seen such beauty. Daniel smiled. It isn't the garden that makes people kind. It's kind people who make the garden beautiful. The traveler lowered his head. I finally understand. He apologized for his selfishness and spent several days helping repair homes damaged by winter storms. As he left the village, he planted a young tree beside the road for future travelers to enjoy. Years passed. Daniel grew into a wise gardener just as Miriam once had. When she peacefully passed away, the villagers placed a simple wooden bench beneath the magical tree in her memory. On it, they carved her favorite words. A garden grows best where kindness is planted first. Travelers from distant lands came to admire the remarkable place where every season lived together. Many searched for enchanted soil or magical water, but Daniel simply smiled. The greatest magic has never been in the garden. It's always been in the hearts of those who care for one another. And every sunrise, as birds sang among the golden blossom, the garden where seasons never ended, reminded everyone who entered that even the smallest act of kindness could help the whole world bloom. Moral of the story: kindness is the seed from which every beautiful thing grows. When we care for others with generous hearts, we create a happier world for everyone, just as a single seed can grow into a magnificent tree. So, this was a story of the garden where seasons never ended. I hope you liked the story. I'll be waiting your feedback. Thank you.